Gemini, this is your week ahead astrology forecast from Astrology Motivation by Born Without Boundaries Tarot. This is a reading that is for Gemini suns because we're going to cover all the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact you and the relationship they have to your natal sun. So, where is your natal sun located? We know it's located somewhere in Gemini, right? And there are 30 degrees in the zodiac sign of Gemini. Your natal sun sits on one of them. Now, if you're really into astrology, you already know where your natal sun is. But if you don't, you can easily get it. Free natal charts are everywhere, all over the internet. Just search it. And then you'll need your birth date, your birth time, and your birth location. Plug in that information, and boop, within a few seconds, you'll get your full natal chart, and it'll tell you which degree your natal sun is on. So if your natal sun is somewhere between 0 and 9 degrees Gemini, I'm going to refer to you as Gemini 1 because your natal sun is falling in the first decan or group of 10 degrees of Gemini. If your natal sun falls between 10 and 19 degrees Gemini, your natal sun falls within the second decan of Gemini, and so I'm going to refer to you guys as Gemini 2. And then if your natal sun falls somewhere between 20 and 29 degrees Gemini, your natal sun falls within the third decan of Gemini. So I'm going to refer to you guys as Gemini 3s. Very, very different relationships, one from the other. And that's what makes that's not the only thing that makes horoscopes inaccurate, but whatever, one of the many things. So we're going to double down and start first with the widest, the most broad information, which is the things that are happening this week that are impacting everybody and we all need to know about. And then we're going to go deeper and say, well, how are those things impacting Gemini? And we're going to zero into things that specifically impact all of Geminis, and then we'll get into the decans. And I highly recommend you watch the entire video because a lot of times with the decans you'll notice, especially if your birthday lies sometime, if your natal sun lies with like between two of them or right on the edge of one or the other, you'll notice that you're picking up on that energy too. So let's start with the broadest, right? Number one, the broadest is we have a new moon. So the week that we're covering is April 13th. I got my little book here that I write everything down on. April 13th to the 19th. And the 19th is when we have the second new moon in Aries. We had one early in Aries season, and now we get a second new moon in Aries. So just before the sun goes into Taurus, the moon conjuncts it again. That is called a double moon. It is not a black moon. A black moon is a moon that happens, a new moon, the second new moon within the same month. This is the second new moon within the same zodiac sign because if you remember, last month, the first new moon in Aries was in March. So it's not the same month, but it is the same zodiac season. It's where the sun is. The moon and the sun have now conjuncted twice in Aries. That's what it's saying. It's a double moon. And so Gemini, it represents an absolute brand new start. And if shit hadn't gotten out of your way now, it's going to get out of your way now. If shit hadn't gotten your way earlier, it is going to get out of your way now. You want to know why? Because this new moon is square to Pluto and in opposition to the South Node. We don't want the same stuff. We're done. People are finished. We want to move forward. We want new. We want progress. That's what we want. We don't care if it's uncomfortable because we're realizing that the discomfort is coming because we've gotten comfortable with some bad shit, that we've gotten comfortable living in garbage, and we can't allow ourselves to be comfortable there. And so we're going to get uncomfortable and clear everything out and have a really fresh start. It's going to feel like somebody's ripping off like chains from your wrists, but this is really the fresh start that we've absolutely needed, and it's going to have a permanent impact. With that square to Pluto, it just means there ain't no turning back. Nope. So that is happening at about 23 to 25 degrees Aries, and that's happening late in the evening on April 19th, or depending on where you are on the earth, early in the morning on April 20th. Now, something else is going on while the new moon is happening, and that is a solar eclipse. So if you are located in India, in the southern hemisphere, India, definitely Australia, New Zealand, if you're located in the southern hemisphere, you guys will be able to see this new moon, because up here, for us in the States, it's just going to be too late. It's like you can't see a solar eclipse. It has no impact when it's nighttime, but we'll still feel the impact, but you guys will get to see it. And this solar eclipse is both annular and I hope I'm saying that right, as well as full. And what does that mean? Like a total eclipse. What is the difference? So the annular is just when it has a little ring around it. It looks like a black spot in the middle of a bright, shiny ring. And that is because the moon is located at a distance from the earth. It's between the earth and the sun, but it's located at a distance from the earth where you can still see the sun. It's not going to totally block it out. But then as the day goes by, because the earth continues to travel, the moon appears to get bigger. So it's going to go to a full moon. It's going to go to a total eclipse and then go back, reduce back to another annular. So it goes from like a little ring to no ring to a little ring. It's just really going to be beautiful. So if you live in an area that is going to get to see that, it's just going to be special. And I hope that you'll take some video footage of it, because it won't take that long. Actually, it won't be too long. But it should be just a wonderful sight. So if you get a chance, please do take some video footage of it. Protect your sun. You got to always watch with solar eclipses, because the sun rays can still hurt you. Look all those guidelines up online or from experts. But I'm telling you, it's going to be quite a spectacular. But in terms of astrology, a solar eclipse is an internal time. It's a time that goes inward. It's a time when we start to look at ourselves and we question ourselves for all the right reasons, and we start to sort of be more vulnerable when it comes to our egos. This is exactly what we need now, because we need our vulnerability. We need to face what we're ashamed of, afraid of, or guilty of. And it doesn't mean that we deserve to be any of those things. It just means that that's how we feel. And this new moon with this solar eclipse is legitimately about opening up space for healing all of those wounds, especially since Chiron is in a pretty active position in Aries as well. All of this is happening in Aries. There's just this huge catharsis that will happen by the end of this week on that new moon solar eclipse. And I think it's just going to be something really special for you guys. And I'll get into why. We also have Jupiter conjunct the sun. So Jupiter is a major player in this new moon too. But all week long, Jupiter is going to be conjunct the sun, which is about broadening and expanding the self. Sometimes just being sort of positive and optimistic. And this is the thing with Jupiter conjunct the sun. It can also be too idealistic, and you can get your head a little bit too big and grow too fast and expect too much. So try to use this energy to just motivate yourself and to encourage your courage. But the expectations and the idealisms might sort of pop around this time. And then we have what's something that's going to absolutely impact you directly. Mercury is conjuncting Uranus, and it's pretty much all week long. And for most of the week, Mercury is also going to be sextile to Mars. So there is a sense of taking action on something absolutely extraordinarily brilliant and innovative. Not even playing Gemini. This is a huge intellectual breakthrough moment, and you're going to get to basically announce or share or talk about some really exciting news. Take action on it. I love it. I love it. I love everything about it. Let's get into the decans, shall we? So Gemini 1, your natal suns are going to be conjunct to Venus. Venus is in Gemini now. It's in the first decan of Gemini. So over the next week, Venus will travel between 3 and 10 degrees Gemini, which means she's going to skim over the top of all your little natal suns. What does that mean? Conjunct Venus is romantic and optimistic energy. It's It's sensual energy. It's valued, being seen as valuable, beautification. This is really a time when you like to expand and beautify yourself. Don't spend too much money because this could easily happen when your natal sun is conjunct Venus. But overall, it's a very romantic, creative, la vie en rose, very kind of uplifting energy. So it's a blessing for this week. Your natal suns are also, if you are on the cusp of Gemini and Taurus, your natal suns are a sextile to Neptune. And that means creativity and, in a lot of ways, trusting your psyche and trusting your instincts because you're very connected to God. It could also be growth and development or opportunities when it comes to spiritual developments and faith. So this is actually a really romantic week for you, a creative week for you, and kind of it's kind of like warm and fuzzy feeling kind of week for you. I just see something sort of magical happening, to be honest with you. And then we have a square to Saturn. If you are on the cusp, your natal suns will be square to Saturn, which means nothing is going to make sense. And all of this is going to defy the odds. And people may be irritated by you, especially authority figures, father figures, contracts or obligations that you have, running into and butting heads with that stuff because you're distracted by all of this other creative energy that you just have to let be. But expect that it's not going to go over so well. It's not going to go over so well when it comes to real world expectations, and could get kind of tense with your job this week. Nothing that you can't overcome, but certainly a frustrating point. And then, and this is a long-term aspect, your natal suns are trine to Pluto, and that's going to be like that for years. So expect harmonious and happy change that is actually helping you to reestablish balance in your life. Changes that you will not come back from because you don't want to, because you need the balance to happen. That's long term though. I do have to mention, because we're talking about it, Mercury is going to go into retrograde on the 21st. So that's technically next week in terms of the way this week is cut up. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit now because you are Gemini, your ruling dignitary is Mercury. You are already feeling this. I'm already feeling this, and I'm a Cancerian. This is a retrograde that is going to be just intense, and I'm sure you're already feeling it. Just miscommunications, technology breaking down, phones not working right, emails not going through, can't find, like all these kind of things, and exes coming back. And I think especially that's going to impact you guys, Gemini ones. Exes coming back because your natal suns are conjunct Venus, and the shadow period of Mercury retrograde is more intense than the retrograde itself. This is when the energy really starts to, it's just everything is being drudged up. That's what it is. Mercury's already slowing down. I was reading the wheel, to write all this down today, and I was like, why is Mercury only moving a few degrees? Oh, because it's retrograding soon. It's slowing down already, and this is when all the old shit just gets drudged up. And for you guys, you are going to be a magnet because you've got Venus conjunct your natal sun this week, and there's a sense of just being so attractive and so charismatic, and just, expect that a lot of those exes are going to be texting. It doesn't mean you have to text back, and it could be irritating, but ultimately, or they may be coming back in different bodies. In other words, you may be noticing yourself, you'll notice it this time around, attracted to people that you would have been attracted to 10 years ago, and catching yourself like, I really don't want that type in my life again. It's like the same type as what you would have done, but you should be too smart for it now. And that's why it's coming up, to help you remember why you're too smart for it now and why you don't want to make those same mistakes. FYI. And that's where that Pluto trine will come and be like, oh, I'm so happy things have changed for me and that my tastes have changed. That kind of energy. Gemini 2s, you're sextile, you've been sextile, your natal suns are sextile to Chiron. That means gathering inspiration and finding opportunities to do something with the ways that you have suffered or ways that you have been challenged, to put it into productivity and for it to motivate you and help others. 100%. This is when you go back to your high school after you were bullied and talk about bullying classes and how to survive it. This is when you teach other people or decide to volunteer for Special Olympics because maybe you were paralyzed for a while. This is that sense of, I'm going to use and take these opportunities to help people in ways that I can personally empathize with because I've been through it. So these are a lot of opportunities opening up for you now. Oh my God. That's just some excellent energy. Hold on. Now, because Chiron is square to Mars, it means that your natal suns are also going to be square to Mars. Your natal sun, your natal suns, no. Chiron is, oh, no. I'm sorry, stop. By Monday, oh yeah, square to Mars. Hold on, let me think about it. Yeah, square to Mars, but that's not your natal sun. Sorry. You are sextile to Chiron. You're not Aries. You're not conjunct Chiron. I apologize. I just got that screwed up for a second. I don't know why. But anyway, so you don't actually have to worry about that. This is really how to use the way that you've suffered productively. So this is all about moving forward. And even though the new moon isn't conjunct your natal sun, it's going to impact you. And so is the solar eclipse. So this is really a time for you to have your catharsis and figure out how to take all those ways that you've suffered and all those challenges that you've been going through and use it to better your life and better the lives of others. 100%. Gemini 3s, your natal suns are going to be conjunct this new moon solar eclipse. No, it's not. I keep getting you confused with Aries. I know that's crazy. I am so sorry. Your natal suns are sextile. So this is where I'm excited for you because you're actually in a better position than Aries. Your natal suns are sextile, not conjunct, but sextile to this new moon, conjunct Jupiter. What does that mean? It means that it is extremely fortunate week for you. It means that there's so many opportunities and new beginnings and fresh starts, clearing out the crap so you actually have room for something extraordinarily new. Gemini, this is the blessing that you've been waiting for, especially Gemini 3s. I kid you not, this is the fresh start. And this is when you can take your experience from all you've been through and innovate and come up with something brilliant and debut it. This is definitely a time for opportunity. This will be so good for you. Your natal suns are also square to Neptune, so it may be clashing with other people's dreams or perspectives or challenging your faith or challenging people's faith in you. It may take people a big leap of faith to find you again or give you a second chance or what, but they will. It will absolutely happen because especially if you are on the cusp of Gemini and Cancer, your natal suns are trine to Saturn, which is wanting to now help you balance things out. Contracts, obligations, making harmony with them, maybe finding a way to just reconfigure, whatever it is, it's when it comes to laws, rules, authorities, or authority figures, there is a harmony there. So people are really going to be able to help you out and you're going to find help in those areas when it comes to 3D legality. That is really important. So you're definitely starting over and getting a fresh start and a clean slate. But your natal suns are also quincunx to Pluto if you are at the cusp of Gemini and Cancer. What does this mean? It means that I don't think things can happen fast enough from the astrology around it. This is a long-term transit. I mean, this is a long-term aspect to your natal suns. So ultimately, there's going to be a lot of changes. They could be frustrating and some of them not completely in your control, but ultimately you've got so much other support around you. There is just a sense of that veil being broken and maybe fantasy or disappointment, like fantasy being broken or illusion being broken, that coming at that creating some sort of frustration or disappointment, or it could just mean a bumpier road as you transition into this new life. Either way, it's going to happen, and this is when you get the opportunity on that fantastic solar eclipse new moon to really just start again. I love this energy for you. Please do leave your comments below, Gemini, and let me know how you're already experiencing this energy. Also, come join me on Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. And then, Gemini, subscribe to this channel and then ring that notification bell so you know when I upload your favorite content. You'll get a new Gemini week ahead astrology forecast every single week. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.